All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. In this video, we are going to talk about Shakur, Stevenson, Gervonta Davis, Teofimo Lopez, and the path of Gervonta Davis after the Jake Paul fight. Ryan Garcia had made a statement talking about who he believed could beat who and who was would cause problems for who in the 140-pound and the 135-pound division. And in that conversation, he said that he believed that Shakur Stevenson could beat Gervonta Davis, but that Shakur would have problems with other fighters. That begs the question, has Shakur Stevenson truly missed his opportunity for the biggest payday that he could have ever had because he's listening to people that are not looking out for his best interest? Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to be in the 135-pound division, and we're going to talk about the champion, the WBC champion, Shakur Stevenson, undefeated fighter. Many people have him in his top 10, have him in the top 10 pound-for-pound fighters in the world. Just an excellent, excellent fighter out of New Jersey. A former an Olympic silver medalist. I believe he's an Olympic silver medalist. Just an absolute terrific, terrific fighter that I had been lucky enough, fortunate enough to have on our show before. And during the time that we spoke with him, he and Kenny Ellis were going back and forth about a potential fight between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson. There wound up being a lot of excitement about the conversation. People were very, they were looking forward to the fight taking place. They were optimistic about it taking place. And then Shakur Stevenson made a move. And that move was when he shifted from Top Rank Promotions and signed a deal with Eddie Hearn, with Matchroom. At that point, I began to wonder, is Shakur Stevenson ever really going to fight Gervonta Davis? Now, at this point, I have to say, considering what Shakur Stevenson is doing, that I don't think that those two guys are ever going to fight unless Shakur Stevenson changes his approach to setting the fight up. And it would be a tremendous shame based off what Ryan Garcia has said about the fight. Now, when Ryan Garcia was being interviewed, I do believe it was by Najee on Cigar Talk, he was talking about how certain fighters would cause other fighters problems, and he mentioned Shakur Stevenson, and he said, yeah, Shakur Stevenson can beat Gervonta Davis, but he would have a harder time, and it may have been with like Gary Antoine Russell or somebody that has a lot of pressure and puts a lot of pressure on him, or people that could hit Shakur Stevenson on the arm, push him back, and not really be able to, to really pound on him. And he said, look, the type of power that somebody like Rolly Romero has, which is thudding, would cause more problems for Shakur Stevenson than the quick kind of blast of Gervonta Davis. It was an interesting analysis of the fight. I found it, I found it interesting. And I know for sure, at least in my opinion, I won't say I know for sure, but in my opinion, the best fight that can be made for Gervonta Davis is Shakur Stevenson. And the best fight for Shakur Stevenson is Gervonta Davis. However, I don't now believe that, I believe that Shakur Stevenson has most likely walked his way out of that fight. And the reason that I say that is because he is signed with Matchroom, and in exchange for the money that he has been given, which I assume was as much or more than he was making at Top Rank, he is now consistently fighting on undercards. Shakur Stevenson, his ability is what makes people say, let's see the fight between Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson because of what he can do in the ring. However, when he was with Top Rank, Leonard Ellerby, who is the CEO of was the former CEO of Mayweather Promotions, current CEO of GTD Promotions, said that guys like Shakur Stevenson and Rolly Romero and Shakur Stevenson, Devin Haney and the like, these guys are not big name fighters. These guys have to do the work to so that they can get their name big enough so that Gervonta Davis and them can, make enough money where they can get the money that they really want. Because, with Gervonta Davis, when you fight Gervonta Davis, you're going to get paid what you weigh. If you're somebody that brings in a lot of fans, then hey man, the fight's gonna be that much bigger. Hey, we're gonna make a lot of money. Just like what happened when Gervonta Davis fought Ryan Garcia. And Ryan Garcia said, and I don't know how true it is, because Ryan says some stuff that isn't always right on, but he said like against Gervonta, he made $30 million. That was the biggest payday of his career against Gervonta Davis. But Ryan Garcia had headlined cards on DAZN. He was a headliner. He was somebody that had a big fan base. Shakur taking a step back from headlining cards to being on the undercard and being on an undercard and potentially fighting in places like Saudi Arabia, fighting on DAZN that doesn't have a lot of viewership, is not going to increase his name recognition to the point where the fight gets bigger. Now, and there's proof for this being the case. There was a lot of people that, including myself, that thought that Terrence Crawford and Canelo Alvarez, Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence should have done 1 million pay-per-views. But what did it do? It did about 600,000. It did what the PBC thought it would do when they said, hey, Errol, this isn't really worth doing. This isn't really a fight that we should be thinking about. You can get that if you fight 2 or 3 other guys, and then boom, you don't really have to risk that. That's at least the business logic that was around for a lot of people, especially seeing as how inactive Errol Spence had been. So you have to look at that in the context of the Gervonta Davis and Shakur Stevenson thing. Shakur had purposely taken steps back and decreasing his visibility. And I guess he assumed that if he tweets enough and does enough interviews, that's going to get the job done as far as getting his name recognition out there. Man, he's just wrong. That's not going to do it. It's going to dissuade the financial backers of Gervonta Davis from wanting to make that fight. And that's just the reality of the sport. You guys can say, or of the business associated with the sport. People can say, oh, that's terrible. That's just chicken. No, it's not chicken. Shakur took a step back. And you see what Gervonta Davis is doing in the fight. And I'm looking at it from Shakur Stevenson's point of view. Shakur's got to do what he's got to do in order to get that fight for Gervonta Davis. And if that means you got to go over to the PBC and fight a killer at the PBC, then that's what you got to do, because that's going to be what is going to ultimately catapult you to the levels that you want to be in. Because if what Ryan Garcia says is true, that Shakur can really beat Gervonta, then hey man, Shakur believes that, then Shakur's got to get that fight, and he's got to do it any way he can do it. And same thing like Lamont Roach, but Lamont Roach also taking steps to the side. Now, Gervonta Davis, you can put the responsibility on Gervonta Davis and say, no, it's Gervonta Davis's fault. That's Gervonta Davis's fault. But that's not going to help Lamont Roach. And that's not going to help Shakur Stevenson. The fact that you blame Gervonta, because Gervonta Davis didn't fight them and went to get a lot more money fighting somebody else. So so you can put the blame where you want the blame, but the damage is going to be done to Shakur, and the damage is going to be done to Lamont Roach, because they won't get the opportunity to get the win that would catapult their career. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. Please let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Deuces.